Hello. Hi, my name is Shanice Horn. I'm the host of Don't Blame Char Media, and today we're joined by an incredibly exciting guest. I'm a dedicated member of the Beyhive who's been giving fans an exclusive look into Beyonce's Cowboy tour by live streaming the experience. Everyone, welcome Matthew Serafin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Also known as the Mega Mega. He's been bringing the concert vibe straight to fans who couldn't be there in person. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sharnice. It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem. And I'm just gonna start with some of our questions. We actually want to know about your Beehive journey. How did you first become involved in the Beehive, and what has it meant being a part of it to you?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing because I have been a fan of Beyonce for more or less as long as I can remember, and I know this story is true for a lot of folks. But I don't know if I would even say that was like where my Beehive journey really started. Right? I would say. But my first conscious memories of knowing and loving and enjoying Beyonce were from the movie Dreamgirls, and then a handful of years later, the 4 album. I remember getting a Borders gift card for Christmas, my birthday or something, and walking my little butt down to Borders bookstore and purchasing the album 4. That was the first Beyonce album I bought, physical media. And that started my love of Beyonce and her music. And it was one of those things that, if you knew me, you knew I liked Beyonce. You knew I was a big Beyonce fan, but I wasn't active in the Hive in the same way. I followed a few accounts, but I wasn't big on Twitter. I wasn't posting all about Beyonce all the time. So I really see my true sort of entrance to the Hive really start with the Renaissance World Tour, because that was when I first went live and it kind of blew up. And then I really found the community aspect that I didn't really have before. It was just before it was a fandom that was personal to me, and now it became something that I can really share in community.
That's actually really interesting and cool to hear, because 4 is actually one of my personal favorite albums as well. And I think it kind of is sort of, to me, I would say one of shows how Beyonce evolved into what she is now. It started with 4. So I think our next question will be about you streaming the Cowboy tour. So you've been live streaming the Cowboy tour. What made you decide to start streaming for the fans who couldn't be there, and what's been the best part of the streaming part for you?
Totally. I will say some folks don't know this, but I am a photographer, not full time, but I have worked as a photographer in the past, and it's not something I'm doing all the time nowadays. But I say that only to add context that, experiencing an event live through a lens and through sort of another vehicle is something I'm used to. It's something that I just enjoy that. I love when I worked in student media in college, and getting to go to an event, everyone's sitting there listening to a lecture or a speaker. Didn't matter who it was. I'm the kind of guy, I'm running around the room, with my camera, getting to see different angles, trying to catch cool shots. And so, it's similar with streaming in the sense that, I'm not actually running around the venue, but I'm sort of able to be experiencing it and trying to get a closer look. And then I'll add one more thing, that a lot of times people will say things like, oh, you should just enjoy this show. Oh, don't worry about the stream. And I'm like, if I didn't enjoy this, I wouldn't be doing it. It is part of the fun for me to stream a show. But the other thing I'll add is, for literally centuries, as we experience art, whether it's an old opera or on theater, people would use a binocular or a monocular in the balcony of a theater, right, or an opera house. When you're in the 300 section at a stadium, this is your binocular, right? And people say, put your phone down, whatever. I'm like, I can see her face on here with literal zoom. I am now seeing the show much closer, the same way humans have literally always done. Right. Because not everyone can always be in the front row, right? So, anywho, all of that said, when I first went live for Renaissance, it was that opening night in Stockholm. I was there alone. I made friends with people in line, as you do, right? But I was there alone, and I wanted just to go live for a few friends at home who weren't able to get tickets. So much noise about Cowboy Carter tickets, and it has been a crazy process for a lot of people. But Renaissance wasn't easy to get tickets either, right? And I remember I didn't get any of the codes.
Oh, gosh.
It was crazy. I can't even think about it. We didn't have as crazy the dynamic pricing stuff, but it still was hard to get tickets. Yeah, so, I went live and I didn't think that it was going to be a thing. I didn't really realize the concert streaming thing, community. People are hungry for that, to get to go to the show. And it was going live that first night and then going through comments from people saying, hey, I live in Sudan and Beyonce is never going to come here. Thank you for streaming. I live in the Philippines. She hasn't been here in over 10 years. I don't know when she'll come again. Thank you for streaming. That I was like, full transparency, that was not part of my initial plan. I was just having fun. Yeah. But then suddenly you hear these stories, and it's like, for me, it's something I enjoy doing. And then for it to also bring so many people so much joy, it is just a marriage of a passion. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I actually want to stay there in this moment with you in talking about sharing with fans. Can you share any more memorable moments or just interactions you've had with fans during your streams?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's amazing because there's so many different, as a streamer, there's a lot of lines to walk. People say turn off the comments so that the stream doesn't lag or it's not in the way. You have other people say, leave the comments on so we can connect during the show, so you have constantly this give and take. I personally love, for opening night for Cowboy Carter, I turn comments off the whole time because, you want to kind of get as good of a initial first view as you can. But I really love when I can connect live with people and I'm able to kind of talk about the show and be able to sort of, I think for Renaissance, a few of my shows, I leave the stream going through interludes and I turn the comments back on. And then it's like, we're talking about the show. We're talking about everything going on. But I think most of that connection really happens after a stream, right? When I'm kind of going through comments and people who take the time to send me a paragraph about how, I was with my mom and we were gathered in a living room. We put your stream up on the screen and watched together. And we've been fans of Beyonce for 20 years. And just like all these stories, it's like so beautiful. And it's amazing how with Cowboy Carter, my page blew up. Honestly, it doubled in size overnight with the opening night, which is amazing. But I think with Renaissance, I was mostly dealing with a community of about 20,000, which is a lot of people. But when it comes to who's really responding, interacting, it's a handful, 100, and not all the time. It's like, I'll post a story, 10 to 20 reply, if it's Beyonce related, maybe 30 to 40. But you get to know some of these people over years, of people who are following me. And then Cowboy Carter happened last week, 2 weeks ago. And I no longer can message everyone, which is really kind of a shame. I just can't, So sometimes I'll go to my hidden tab, where anyone DMs you don't follow and everything. Yeah. And I'll just scroll and I'll pick one. And it's like, I love going to the country examples because it blows my mind. It's like, I'm in Saudi Arabia with all my girlfriends and we watched your show and she's never going to come here and do a public show. And I'm just like, wow, that's wild. So I love those interactions. Those interactions are so special to me. I love hearing people's stories with Beyonce and how they've had their own journey. And I'm always like very aware of the fact I'm 30, grew up in the mostly white suburb of Chicago. Like my parents weren't playing Destiny's Child when I was really young. So again, like me coming to Beyonce during Dreamgirls was like me being like, wait a minute, where have I been? Like a little bit. And then it was like, so in some ways, like I'm not like an OG stan in that sense, just because I wasn't there in the beginning. But I think that's what's so fun about Beyonce is you could be, and I do love finding like 18, 20, 22-year-olds who message me and are like, I'm a new Beyhive, and I'm like, you have so much to uncover. Like I'm jealous. You can have so much history so many eras to relive. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I actually really like what you just kind of explained there. It sounds like you've really found some sort of like found family and community within the Beyhive, and I think in fandom culture, that's something that really like brings all of us together, whether it be like on our site, journalists, or just fans, stan pages. So I really like that aspect. And even hearing that you've been able to bring people from different countries who Beyonce doesn't regularly tour to your streams, I really admire that. And even going into the next question I'm going to ask, because you even previously mentioned that you are sort of basically a creative and you do photography. So I would even ask, as a huge Beyonce fan, how has she inspired your work, especially in how you, of course, stream, photograph, and connect with people?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Yes. It's a great question. I think honestly, to have one of my first real eras being, again, in the Hive in the sense that I'm like clearly giving a lot of my mental energy to Beyonce, even if I'm not like talking with a lot of fans about it, for self-titled era, right? Like self-titled and then obviously Lemonade, like receiving these projects and sort of taking in the art from her, the way in which she creates is something that just there's no parallel, you know, and I think that's sometimes what people don't understand, especially, and you know, makes me feel old to say this, but like younger generations who like don't really get Beyonce because for their whole life, she's not doing interviews, you know, she's not really creating a ton of visuals right now, right? Like there's not, like if you're not, haven't been grandfathered in from when, you know, she was talking about whales with Destiny's Child, you know, like, you know, like we know who she is a little more because we've been around a minute. But the way in which she creates and the intentionality behind everything she does is something that certainly has inspired me as a creative. I think that, you know, it's simple things like sometimes people will try to be like, well, why did your stream blow up or whatever? And as much as it's total chance, and I can, you know, I cannot take credit for the connection, you know, I can't take credit for something goes viral, who knows? But what I can take credit for is knowing how to frame a shot, right? I know how to change lenses of my phone so that I'm using the right lens for the right moment of the show. I know how to adjust brightness and like a lot of people know some of these things, and the phone makes it really easy to do the same way that you can buy a digital camera, shoot on auto and get good photos. But any photographer will tell you to get the best photos, you got to shoot on manual, and you got to understand how the light is happening and how you can play with your shot. And so I think I have learned some of those things probably just by receiving her art, watching her music, watching her videos, you know, understanding how much intention she puts into whether it's even just an awards show performance. I mean, she never misses. And I think that's what is, again, there's no parallel. I think there's someone's just put her in the same category as like any other pop star or someone who's top of the charts, but she's a generational talent. And I've been telling everyone in Chicago this week, you know, I don't care if you don't listen to Beyonce's music, you can't miss her when she's here. You got to just go. Like, just because there'll be a point in your life when someone, your kids, grandkids, great-grandkids are going to say, did you ever see Beyonce? Don't you want to say yes? Yeah. You know? And, like, come on, you know? I don't know anyone who's gone to the show, and by the show, I mean Cowboy, Carter, or Renaissance, and not understood, not got it a little more, you know? Even if you're not full deep in the Hive immediately, it's like they get it a little more, so...
And again, I feel like we're kind of in sync because you already went into the technical aspect of what streaming is, and that was actually going to be my next question. Behind the scenes of live streaming, what's the technical side of streaming the tour been like, and have you faced really any challenges you've kind of already explained, but with making sure the fans get a smooth experience?
Totally. There's a handful of like tips and tricks. You know, none of it is total rocket science, and a lot of it is chance, but there are certainly things you can do to sort of improve your chances of having a good stream if you're someone who wants to stream. And also, before I jump into that, I'll say I sometimes get messages of people being like, I don't want to, like, you know, I see you're going to this show. Is it okay if I go live too? And I'm like, yes, more streamers. Like, if you want to do it, go ahead, you know, like, please do it. I think what's kind of cool about that streaming world is that it really is like you're going, I think a good streamer is one who creates an environment in their stream where it feels like you're at the show with them, right? And so, you know, I sometimes get comments, I get a lot of comments that say like, oh, we don't want you to sing, we want you to dance. And I'm like, you don't have to watch that. You know, I'm going to be dancing, I'm going to be singing. So, you know, and the people who want to see that and want to come with the show with me, come on. If you don't, that's okay. You know, every show day I always post at least $5 or $10 handles. I'm like, go find someone who fits your style, you know? But behind the scenes, there's a handful of technical aspects. I'll start first, the hardware of the phone. You know, battery's a big piece. Always bring extra battery packs because streaming does suck your battery dry. And a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm at like 80% before the show, I'm fine. I'm like, that's going to go down if you want to stream the show. And sometimes it can be tough on your battery. Trying to find a right signal can be also dragging down your battery. In terms of also external things, I would say if you're able to afford it and go for it, get one of those like hotspot, external hotspots. I've actually never ended up using one myself for a stream, because where I've tried to stream, it's worked out, or where I've tried to stream, there's so limited service that even the hotspot doesn't work, right? So like then you're kind of just screwed. And then I turn off location services on my phone. Ooh. Because that A, saves a lot of battery.
Yeah.
And B, you know, it's kind of a gray legal space streaming, right? Because it's like, we're not really supposed to, right? But it's really hard for someone to say that with a straight face when I'm doing this, everyone around me is doing this, and they're clicking post just 2 minutes after. Yeah. So it's like, and that's okay, but this is not, right? So it doesn't make as much sense to me, especially when also, sorry, I'm going a bit of a tangent, but
no,
the amount of messages I get of people who say, I saw your stream and then I went and bought tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it's people who, you know, yes, there's the other countries where Beyonce's not traveling. There's many Americans who are watching and just saying, hey, I can't get to a show. I can't afford to go to a show. Going to a show means childcare, you know, Ubers, outfits. Yeah. It's not just the ticket, you know. And so a lot of people also just can't make that happen. And this is their way to experience it, right? So I always feel like it's not like Beyonce herself or, you know, someone at Parkwood who wants to shut down a stream. Right. It's probably the Sonys and the Columbia, like, you know, the back players in the back.
Major players, yeah.
But I turn off location services because I think there may be sometimes like either like not dead zones, but they try to like put geographic limits on service. So I like to just turn it off and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very interesting in everything you said. I also think we live and we are lucky to be alive at this time, because when Beyonce was doing all these like larger things, social media wasn't like as huge as it was. We didn't have streaming back then. So I think in just your ability to be able to do this, we live in a great time where technology is advanced. I think about, you know, all those original fans who, I think back then they just had like fan clubs and stuff. So
totally.
And brings us to our final question, the future of streaming and Beyhive. What's next for you? Will you continue streaming future events, or do you have any exciting projects related to Beyonce and the Beyhive or not coming up that you're individually working on?
Very sweet. Thank you for this question too. It's wonderful. Well, I have the Chicago shows coming up, and so unsure if this will be live during this weekend or not, but I'm going to the 3 Chicago shows, and I was able to upgrade my spots for tonight, Saturday. I'm very excited for that. But now that I'm going to be so close, you know, it's honestly a little harder to stream when you're that close, because sometimes there's something about the way, like the level of like it's the Bluetooth connections, it's like all the radio sound, the audio equipment. It really interferes with your stream ability sometimes. And at Soldier Field for Renaissance, I was at the Beyhive in the front area and tried to stream, and it really wasn't working, wasn't connecting, couldn't load. And then, you know, on the flip side, when you're trying to stream, you're also not getting like good videos for yourself. Yeah. So I remember that experience, and I'm kind of feeling, I feel badly, but I'm probably not going to go as many times live tonight for that reason. But I think when I think about like kind of future projects, and when I think about this tour in general, I really came into Cowboy Carter thinking that I was not going to be going to so many shows because I was like, you know what, Renaissance was the album of my life. You know, Renaissance was, I was talking myself down, being like, Renaissance is a high I'll never hit again, and that's okay. It needs to be what it was, and it's okay to not be there. I love Beyonce. I love Cowboy Carter as a project. There are a few words to describe what it means to me, but Renaissance, I woke up and pressed play every day. You know, Cowboy Carter is more like every few days I'm like, I'm going to take an hour and a half and like sit with this, you know? And sometimes I'll do a couple singles and stuff, but like, but then we got the show and I was there for opening night, and it was, as she always does, surpassing herself. She surpassed herself again. And I realized this was not a departure from Renaissance, but a reimagining. And so that's what's really exciting about this 3-act structure. I have fun sort of sometimes reading theories and whatnot, but I don't spend a lot of time thinking about Act 3. And so when I think about, even for myself, what's, post Cowboy Carter tour, I'm living in the moment with this and with what we're giving or being given now. I kind of use the fun metaphor, like Beyonce's serving us a coursed meal, and we're on course 2. And you have people over here asking for dessert, cookies, and ice cream, and I'm like, that's gonna come later.
Yes.
Why don't we savor the meal as we're getting it? Like, so I'm living in this moment at a time in our country and our world that everyone needs an escape so badly.
Absolutely.
And that's why I can't even think about it without getting a little emotional. But in Amen, when she's like, I can see you hurting badly, I'm like, yeah. Like and this show is catharsis, which is why right now I'm going to Chicago, I'm going to Vegas to close the show, and I said to myself, open and close Chicago, that's it, Matthew. You can't go into debt like Renaissance. And but a small part of me is like, I gotta go to one more. I gotta find one more city. I just don't know how yet. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, if you don't go live, you have gone live so many times. I even watch some of your streams before I go to an individual show. So yeah, have fun, experience it, everything. Yeah. Well, and I just want to close the interview by saying thank you so much, Matthew, for sharing your experience with us today. We really appreciate it, and it's been amazing hearing your journey with Beyhive, how you've been bringing the Cowboy Carter tour to life, and your passion and dedication. It truly is inspiring. Even hearing you say that Renaissance was like the album that really changed your perspective and your life. So the last thing I want to say before I wrap up with you, is there anything you can share with your fellow Beyhive members, people in our audience, or again, any upcoming projects that you want to plug, socials? Say it here.
Love it. Thank you, Shar. And yeah, I'll say thank you too for just having me for this interview. It's so fun to get to. I mean, I'm happy to talk about Beyonce all day, and I think that's one of those. I'm like, I could go forever. I could keep going. I would just say, I'm at the Mega Mega on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. I'm going to continue sharing my Beyonce experience and the way in which she's changed my life. And, it is truly this whole experience, going live and streaming shows, getting to share it and go to shows with people. It has really just changed. It's changed my life. And I think getting to experience something like this in a community is really what kind of makes the world go around. And I don't mean to be dramatic, but it's like having things to look forward to is so important right now. And getting to share this together is amazing. And I want, I got a ton. I mean, I was able to meet a lot of people in LA, and I love when someone comes up to me and is like, hey, I watch your streams. Even if they don't know me, they're like, are you that guy? I'm like,
yes, you are that guy.
I'm so proud to be that guy,
yes.
Because sometimes when on my side, I'm not a full-time creator, and especially between tours, it's like, I'm just a dude living around. I listen to Beyonce a lot, but my day-to-day life doesn't get to be Beyonce all the time. And so when I do have a stream at opening night and I have 30,000 people watching, the number almost doesn't feel real, but then when I'm randomly out on the street and someone, and this doesn't happen much, usually at a Beyonce show or something, but someone will say are you and I'm like, yes. And I'm like, and you're someone who was sitting there watching this. You were someone who was you're one of those numbers in real life.
Yeah.
And so I love that. So, and anyway, opening night, I did get to talk to a lot of people, but as I was trying to call messages after, I got a lot of messages from people who were like, hey, you were in line for a drink, but I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, no, come bother me. Come talk to me. I want it to be real. I want to share it with you. So please come up to me and talk to me. When it comes to future projects, I don't have anything specific besides just, I'm going to a bunch of shows, and hopefully, I'm just ready to receive whatever's coming next from Beyonce. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you so much for joining us, and to everyone tuning in, listening to us. Make sure to stay connected with Matthew at all of his socials at the Mega Mega, and check out his live streams. I know I'm always going to be on there watching. So yeah, and we can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to show you too, just a preview of what I just made. I'm not a crafty guy. I love the Beyhive who are like sewing and making stuff on their own. But let's see if this. There you go.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Mega say yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm showing you this now. No one's seen this yet. And tonight, if I can even get this in, I'm going to try to fold it up. If I can bring this in, and if I'm holding it in the pit, maybe she'll acknowledge me today. That would be a dream come true. If it doesn't happen though, it's okay. Like, it's fine. I don't need that, but it would just be such an amazing, really cool thing. So we'll see.
We're believing in you. We see it for you.
Manifest.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Matthew.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.